When a woman starts unloading her problems onto you, most men make the mistake of thinking it's a cry for help or an invitation to solve her issues. But let me shake that belief right now. When a woman tells you her problems, it rarely means what you think it does. It's not about the actual problem itself. It's about testing, connection, and in many cases, control. And if you don't understand this dynamic, you'll end up playing a role you were never meant to play. The emotional sponge, the fixer, or worse, the man who becomes her therapist instead of her partner. Welcome back, gentlemen. If you're new here, this is the space where we strip away the confusion and talk about what really happens between men and women. Too many guys out there believe that listening to a woman's endless stories of stress at work, drama with friends, or family complaints is what makes them a good man. But here's the twist. Often she's not looking for a solution at all. What she's really doing is measuring your strength, your emotional composure, and whether you can hold your ground instead of drowning in her storm. This is where it gets controversial. Because the truth is, a woman sharing her problems with you doesn't automatically mean closeness, trust, or intimacy. In many cases, it's the opposite. It can be a sign that she's shifting weight onto you, seeing how much you'll carry before you break. And the man who doesn't see this, he becomes drained, resentful, and confused about why the relationship feels heavy. Stick with me, because in this video, I'm going to break down what it really means when a woman tells you her problems, and how you should handle it like a man who understands his value. Before we start the video, I want to remind you that my exclusive online course on mastering the dating game is available now. If you've been learning from my YouTube videos, you're only scratching the surface. This course goes deeper, teaching you everything you need to know about the dating game, from approaching a woman to building real attraction. We just finished section 5 in the course, and you won't find this information on videos on my channel. It's easy to access with a secure payment option. Visit stoicapproachtolife.podia.com or click the link in the description to enroll now and improve your dating life. 1. It's not about the problem. The first thing you need to understand is this. When a woman brings her problems to you, 9 times out of 10, the actual issue she's talking about isn't the real point. Most men miss this because they're wired to solve. A guy hears his girlfriend complain about a coworker or stress over her family, and immediately his brain goes into fix-it mode. He's thinking solutions, strategies, and advice. But here's the twist. She's not looking for that. The problem she's describing is just a vehicle, a tool, a way to draw you into an interaction that reveals who you really are. Think of it like this. A woman tells you she's stressed about her job. On the surface, it looks like she wants your help. But underneath, what she's really observing is your reaction. Do you panic with her? Do you take on her stress and make it your own? Do you bend over backwards trying to fix something that isn't yours to fix? Or do you remain calm, steady, and unaffected by her storm? That's the real test. The problem itself is irrelevant. It could be work, friends, family, or even something minor like being annoyed at traffic. What matters is how you show up when she throws emotional weight into the room. This is why so many men feel drained in relationships without realizing why. They're constantly trying to solve a puzzle that doesn't even exist. Every time she vents, they dive headfirst into fixing it, thinking they're doing the right thing. And yet, instead of gratitude, what they often get is more frustration. Why? Because they weren't supposed to fix anything in the first place. They were supposed to reveal their strength. A woman sharing her problems with you is like her opening a window into her emotional world. But that window isn't an invitation for you to jump inside and rearrange the furniture. It's an invitation for you to stand at the window, observe, and stay grounded. She's not measuring how clever your solutions are. She's measuring your composure. Can you listen without getting pulled into her chaos? Can you show empathy without losing your center? Can you remain the man she looks up to instead of becoming the guy who's drowning with her? When you stop looking at her problems as problems and start seeing them as moments of revelation, everything changes. You realize it's never about the story, the stress, or the drama she's unloading. It's about her watching you, silently asking, Is this man strong enough to hold his ground while I release this? And if you can do that, if you can stay steady when she's spinning, she'll feel something deeper than just being heard. She'll feel secure, and that's what keeps her drawn to you. And 2, she's testing your composure. If there's one thing most men underestimate, it's the fact that women are constantly testing. Not always in obvious ways, but in subtle, everyday moments. When she tells you about her problems, it's not just small talk. It's a test of your emotional strength. She's watching to see if you can stay composed, or if you'll crumble under the weight of her emotions. Think about it. A woman doesn't consciously say, "I'm going to test my man right now." It's instinctual. It's built into her psychology. She needs to know if the man beside her is sturdy, someone she can lean on, or if he's fragile and easily shaken. That's why when she unloads about her bad day, she's not really evaluating the story you give back. She's evaluating your energy. Do you stay calm and grounded, or do you get rattled and jump into her storm? Too many men fail this test because they confuse being supportive with getting sucked in. They think showing care means mirroring her anxiety, stressing with her, or over-explaining solutions. What they don't realize is that when they let her emotions dictate their state, they fail the very test she set in motion. She doesn't want to see you shaken. She wants to see if you can remain unshaken. This is where men lose power without even knowing it. A woman who sees that her man gets frazzled every time she's emotional won't feel safer with him. In fact, she'll subconsciously feel less secure because deep down she knows he can't handle her waves. And what does that lead to? More tests, more problems shared, and more pressure. It becomes a cycle where she keeps pushing, hoping he'll finally show that strength she's looking for. Now here's the educational part. The best way to pass these tests isn't to ignore her or shut her down. That's just cold indifference, and it kills connection. The right move is balance. You acknowledge her feelings without letting them control yours. You give her space to vent without becoming her emotional punching bag. You hold steady, like a rock in a river, unbothered by the water rushing past it. When you master this, everything shifts. She may not consciously say it, but she'll feel it. This man doesn't get rattled. I can lean on him. That's respect. That's attraction. That's the kind of strength she's instinctively looking for. So the next time she starts telling you her problems, remember, it's not just a random conversation. It's a test of your composure. And the men who understand this play the game differently. They don't rush to fix. They don't let themselves get rattled. They stay grounded. And that's what separates the men she respects from the men she tolerates. 3. The trap of becoming her therapist. One of the biggest mistakes men make in relationships is slipping into the role of her therapist without even realizing it. At first, it feels harmless. She comes to you with her problems, you listen, you give advice, and you feel like you're helping. But over time, that dynamic shifts. Instead of being her man, you become her counselor. And let me tell you, nothing kills attraction faster than a man who unknowingly takes on that role. Here's the reality. Women are emotional by nature, and many of them process stress by talking it out. That's fine. But when you become the go-to person for every rant, every frustration, every emotional dump, you're setting yourself up for burnout. You're also setting the stage for her to stop seeing you as her partner and start seeing you as her therapist. And once that line gets blurred, it's extremely hard to come back from. Ask yourself this: how many times have you listened to her complain about the same thing over and over? Maybe it's her boss, her co-workers, or her friends. And no matter what advice you give, the cycle repeats. Why? Because she wasn't looking for solutions in the first place. She was looking for an outlet. And the more you try to fix, the more you realize your advice isn't being applied. That's because she didn't want a therapist. She wanted to see if you'd sit there and absorb it. This is dangerous ground, because while you're busy helping, she's slowly losing respect. Women don't desire men they can unload on endlessly. They desire men who can hold their own space, men who don't get tricked into becoming emotional sponges. The therapist dynamic strips away polarity. It makes her see you as nurturing, safe, and dependable, but not as a man she deeply desires. And in relationships, once attraction fades, you're left in the dreaded friend zone energy, even if you're technically her boyfriend or husband. So what's the solution? Boundaries. You can listen, but you don't have to carry. You can care, but you don't have to solve. And when her venting turns into a therapy session, you need to redirect. A calm, firm response like, "I hear you, but maybe you should talk this out with someone who can give you better guidance," works wonders. It's not dismissive. It's leadership. You're showing her that while you care, you're not here to play therapist. You're her man. Men who understand this dynamic keep their relationships alive with attraction and respect. They don't drown in her problems. They don't become the emotional crutch. They remain the man she admires, the one she wants to lean on, not the one she treats like her personal counselor. 4. Why men lose respect. Here, let's make this real. Picture a guy named Daniel. He's been dating his girlfriend, Lisa, for 2 years. In the beginning, their relationship was exciting. She looked at him with admiration, respected his opinions, and followed his lead. But over time, something started to shift. Lisa began sharing more and more of her daily frustrations with him. At first, Daniel felt honored, like he was her rock. Every night she'd come home and pour her heart out about her co-workers, her family drama, or her insecurities. Daniel, wanting to be the good boyfriend, always listened patiently. He gave her advice, tried to fix her issues, and carried her emotional weight on his shoulders. He thought this was love. He thought this was what made a man dependable. But slowly, Lisa's attitude changed. She became more irritable with him, less affectionate, and at times even dismissive. Daniel couldn't understand why. He was giving her everything she asked for: his time, his ear, his solutions. So why was she pulling away? The answer is simple. Daniel lost respect without realizing it. Here's what men need to understand. Respect in a relationship is not maintained by how much emotional labor you do for her. It's maintained by how much strength and boundaries you bring to the table. When Daniel turned into her constant listener, her unpaid therapist, and her emotional dump site, he stopped being the man she admired. Instead, he became predictable, overly accommodating, and drained. And women do not respect men who sacrifice their own energy to carry problems that aren't theirs. Lisa didn't consciously say, "I'm losing respect for Daniel," but subconsciously she felt it. She tested him with her problems, and instead of standing tall, he absorbed them all. The polarity that once existed, where she admired his strength, faded away. This is why so many men are blindsided when a woman says, "I just don't feel the same anymore." Respect quietly eroded long before attraction disappeared. Men lose respect in relationships when they confuse service with strength. Strength isn't about saying yes to everything or always being available to soak up her complaints. Strength is about holding your ground, showing composure, and protecting your own emotional space. Respect comes from her knowing you're there for her, but you won't drown with her. If Daniel had understood this, he would have handled things differently. He could have listened without caring, offered support without turning into her therapist, and redirected when she turned every night into a counseling session. That would have kept him in his role as her man, not her counselor. Respect in relationships is fragile. Once lost, it's incredibly hard to rebuild. But when you understand how easily it slips away, like in Daniel's case, you can protect it. And when respect stays intact, attraction stays alive. 5. The power of emotional detachment. One of the hardest lessons for men to learn is the difference between caring and overcaring. Too many men think being emotionally available means matching her energy, diving headfirst into her problems, and making them their own. But that's the trap. Emotional detachment doesn't mean you're cold or unfeeling. It means you know how to separate her storm from your center. That ability alone sets you apart as a man she respects. Let's start with the wrongs most men fall into. When a woman comes to you stressed about her day, the first mistake is saying things like, "That's terrible. I can't believe they treated you that way. What are we going to do about it?" Notice the we. The problem isn't yours, but you just made it yours. Another wrong move is over-explaining solutions. For example, why don't you just tell your boss off? You should have handled it differently. While it seems helpful, it comes off as nagging or lecturing, and it drains attraction. And perhaps the biggest mistake is letting her emotions drag you down. When she's angry, you get angry with her. When she's anxious, you mirror her anxiety. This doesn't create closeness. It shows you're easily shaken, and it makes her feel like she has more emotional strength than you do. That's not what she's looking for in a man. Now let's talk about the right way. Emotional detachment is about listening without being consumed. When she unloads her frustrations, the best thing you can do is keep your composure. Phrases like, "I hear you, that sounds tough," or "I understand why you'd feel that way," show empathy without trying to fix her world. You acknowledge her feelings, but you don't dive into them. Another powerful response is redirecting with calm leadership. After hearing her out, you might say, "I trust you'll figure this out. You're stronger than you think." That statement does two things. It reassures her while putting the responsibility back where it belongs, on her. You're not carrying her burden, you're reminding her of her own strength. That's leadership, not therapy. And if the conversation starts becoming repetitive or heavy, you can set boundaries without being cold. Something like, "I'm here for you, but let's not dwell on this all night. Let's relax and enjoy ourselves." Works perfectly. It keeps you in control of the energy, and it shows her you're not letting negativity dominate the relationship. The power of emotional detachment lies in balance. You care, but you don't overcarry. You listen, but you don't absorb. You guide, but you don't control. And when you master this, she feels two things at once: heard and secure. That combination builds respect and attraction in ways fixing her problems never could. 6. How to respond. Like a leader. When a woman brings you her problems, your response determines whether she sees you as her rock or just another person to unload on. Most men either overreact, underreact, or get sucked into the emotions of the moment. But a leader responds differently. A leader listens, acknowledges, and then sets the tone for how the energy in the room will flow. That's the difference between being her man and being her emotional crutch. Let's paint a picture. Your girlfriend comes home upset about something that happened at work. She's frustrated, venting, and going on about how unfair her boss is. The average guy jumps in with a laundry list of solutions. Why don't you confront him? You should email HR. Maybe it's time to look for a new job. While that sounds helpful, what usually happens? She doesn't listen. She keeps talking. And before long, you feel ignored. That's because you've made the mistake of trying to solve instead of leading. Leadership here looks different. Instead of flooding her with fixes, you keep calm and steady. You say something like, "Sounds like your boss was being difficult today. That must have been draining." Short, direct, and empathetic. You acknowledge her feelings, but you don't lose your balance. Then, instead of letting her spiral for an hour, you redirect with strength. "I know you'll handle it. Don't let him ruin your evening. Let's grab dinner and reset." That's leadership. You recognized the problem, you gave her validation, and then you guided the moment toward positivity. This is what most men miss. Leadership isn't about dominating or controlling her. It's about steering the energy of the relationship. When she comes with negativity, you don't let it consume the space between you. You shift it. You're the thermostat, not the thermometer. Instead of reflecting her mood, you set the tone. That's the essence of masculine leadership. Now, you may be wondering, won't she get annoyed if I don't sit there and let her vent endlessly? The truth is, no. She might resist at first, but deep down, she respects it. A woman feels more secure with a man who knows when to cut off negativity and lead her back into a better state. She doesn't want a weak echo of her emotions. She wants the solid presence of a man who can handle them and guide her out of them. So the next time she unloads, remember, don't overfix, don't drown, and don't detach completely. Respond like a leader. Be calm, be firm, and guide her energy. That's how you keep her respect alive while keeping the relationship balanced. 7. Turning problems into attraction. Most men see a woman sharing her problems as a burden. They sigh, roll their eyes, and think, here we go again. But what if I told you that these very moments could actually be used to spark attraction instead of draining it? The difference lies in how you handle yourself. A man who panics or gets frustrated kills the energy. But a man who knows how to stay grounded, playful, and steady can turn her venting into an opportunity to reinforce his role as the man she looks up to. Here's the secret. Attraction grows when she feels both safe and challenged. Safe, because you're calm and unshaken by her emotional waves. Challenged, because you don't allow her negativity to take over. This balance creates polarity, the dynamic tension that keeps her drawn to you. Imagine she's ranting about her co-workers being unfair. Instead of diving into solutions or letting her drag you into the negativity, you lean back, listen with a smirk, and say something like, "Sounds like you survived a battlefield today. You're tougher than half the guys I know." Suddenly, you've reframed her frustration into admiration, and she feels both heard and lifted. That's attractive. Or let's say she's spiraling about family drama. You acknowledge it briefly, then shift the energy with playful confidence. All right, enough about them. Let's talk about something more fun. Like how you still owe me a rematch at that game you lost last week. You didn't dismiss her feelings, but you didn't drown in them either. Instead, you redirected her into a lighter, more engaging space. That shift makes her feel that with you she can breathe again. And trust me, that's magnetic. Another key is subtle teasing. If she's venting in circles, you can chuckle and say, "You know you're giving me the whole season finale right now, right? Should I get popcorn?" That humor breaks the tension and reminds her you're not fazed. Instead of being weighed down, you made her laugh. And laughter in those moments builds attraction far more than trying to fix her issues ever will. The important part here is confidence. Women can feel when a man is leading the energy versus when he's being dragged by it. When you take her problems and handle them with calm, humor, and authority, she associates you with relief and strength. That creates a loop where every time she vents, she doesn't see a weak man being drained. She sees a man who makes her feel lighter, safer, and more drawn to him. So stop seeing her problems as complaints to survive. See them as chances to prove who you are. Attraction isn't built in the easy, smooth moments. It's built when she throws chaos your way, and you handle it like the man who can't be shaken. That's the energy that keeps her coming back. When a woman tells you her problems, it's never just about the story she's sharing. It's about how you respond, how you hold your ground, and how you protect your role as her man. The weak approach is to overcarry, to become her therapist, or to let her emotions control you. The strong approach is composure, boundaries, and leadership. That's what keeps respect and attraction alive. Gentlemen, remember this. Her problems are not your problems. They are opportunities. Opportunities to show strength, to guide with calm, and to remind her why she chose you in the first place. And remember, if you're serious about mastering the dating game, don't miss out on my exclusive online course. We go beyond what's covered in these videos, giving you powerful insights from the first approach to lasting attraction. It's easy to enroll with a secure payment option. Visit stoicapproachtolife.podia.com or simply click the link in the description to secure your spot. Don't wait until it's too late. Take action now and start transforming your dating life today. I want to especially appreciate you for taking your time to watch till the end of this video. I hope the video helps you improve every aspect of your relationship with women. Until next time, this is Stoic Approach to Life.